Welcome to this video series on the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. This book is one of the famous guides to personal finance and financial freedom. It's not about complicated theories, but about changing the way we think about money. The author shares lessons he learned from two father figures in his life. His poor dad, his real father, was highly educated, worked hard at his job, and believed in job security. His rich dad, his friend's father, was a businessman who taught him how money really works. Through their two very different mindsets, the author explains why some people struggle financially while others build lasting wealth. The book teaches us about assets and liabilities, the importance of financial education, why we should build businesses and investments, and how the rich use knowledge to get ahead. The key message is simple: don't just work for money. Learn how to make money work for you. In this series, we will go chapter by chapter, explaining each lesson in clear and easy English so that everyone can understand and apply it in daily life. So let's begin our journey into Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a book that has inspired millions of people to think differently about money and to aim for financial freedom. Two dads, two mindsets. Robert Kiyosaki grew up listening to two father figures. His poor dad was his real father, a highly educated man, working a government job, and believing that studying hard and getting a secure job is the best way to live. His rich dad was his friend's father, a businessman who was not highly educated but was financially smart. He believed in making money work for you, not just working for money. From these two men, Robert saw two different paths in life. His poor dad taught him the traditional way: go to school, get good grades, and find a safe job. His rich dad taught him a new way: build assets, invest, and learn how money really works. Lesson 1. The rich don't work for money. Most of us think that to become rich, we must work harder and earn more salary. But the book explains that rich people think differently. They don't only work for money, they make money work for them. How? By building assets. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket, like rental property, businesses, or investments. A liability is something that takes money away, like loans, expensive cars, or credit card bills. Poor dad focused on job security, while rich dad focused on building assets. This is the first key lesson. If you want to grow financially, don't just chase salary. Start building income sources that bring money even when you are not working. Lesson 2. Why financial education matters. Schools teach us math, science, and history. But they don't teach us how to manage money, how to invest, or how to handle taxes. That is why many people, even those with good jobs, struggle financially. Rich Dad said that financial education is the most powerful tool. We must understand how money flows, how to manage expenses, and how to make smart investments. It's not about how much you earn, it's about how much you keep and how wisely you use it. Without financial knowledge, even a high income can disappear quickly. Lesson 3. Mind your own business. Poor dad believed in working hard for someone else's company. Rich dad believed in building your own business or investments. The message is clear: don't spend your whole life making other people rich. Yes, having a job is important in the beginning, but we should also focus on creating something for ourselves, maybe a side business, investments, or real estate. When you start focusing on your own business or assets, you gain control over your financial future. Lesson 4. Work to learn, not to earn. Rich Dad taught Robert that a job should not only be about salary. It should also be about learning skills. For example, if you work in sales, you learn communication and persuasion. If you work in management, you learn leadership. These skills are more valuable than a monthly paycheck. The poor and middle class often work only for money. The rich work to learn and gain skills that will help them grow their wealth later. So, instead of asking, "How much will I earn?" we should ask, "What will I learn from this?" Lesson 5. Overcome fear and take risks. One big difference between rich people and poor people is how they handle fear. Poor Dad avoided risks and preferred job security. Rich Dad took calculated risks and was ready to face failures. The truth is, fear of losing money stops many people from becoming financially free. But failure is a teacher. Every mistake gives us experience. The lesson here is to not let fear control us. Learn, practice, and take small steps in investing or building assets. Over time, confidence will grow. Lesson 6: The Power of Assets. The book repeats one idea again and again: buy assets, not liabilities. An asset is something that brings money into your pocket. Example: stocks, rental property, businesses. A liability is something that takes money from your pocket. Example: car loans, credit card debt, big house loans. Most people confuse liabilities with assets. They buy an expensive car and call it an asset, but in reality, it only takes money away. The rich grow richer because they focus on assets. The poor and middle class stay where they are because they keep buying liabilities. Lesson 7: Taxes and Corporations. Rich Dad also explained how the rich use laws and systems to their advantage. For example, rich people often set up corporations. A corporation can reduce taxes and protect assets. While the poor and middle class pay taxes first and then spend, the rich spend first and pay taxes later through smart systems. This is possible only with financial education. The point here is not to cheat the system, but to learn how the system works so you can use it wisely. Lesson 8: Work on your mindset. At the heart of the book is one strong message: mindset is everything. Poor Dad had a mindset of security and fear. Rich Dad had a mindset of growth and opportunity. The way you think about money shapes your future. If you believe money is hard to get, it will be hard to get. If you believe you can learn, invest, and grow, you will find opportunities. That's why the book is more about changing your mindset than about giving step-by-step instructions. Lesson 9: Take action. Knowledge alone is not enough. Many people read books and attend seminars but do nothing. Rich Dad always said, action is the most important step. Start small, save a little, invest in something, build a side income. Learn by doing, not just by reading. Lesson 10: The goal is financial freedom. In the end, the purpose of money is not to keep working harder but to gain freedom. Financial freedom means your assets provide enough income for your lifestyle. You no longer depend only on your job. This is the life Rich Dad wanted Robert to live, a life where money works for you, instead of you working for money. A new way of thinking. So, what can we learn from Rich Dad Poor Dad? Don't only work for money, make money work for you. Focus on financial education. Buy assets, avoid unnecessary liabilities. Take risks, don't let fear stop you. Build your own business or investments. Work to learn skills, not just to earn salary. Aim for financial freedom, not job security. This book is not about quick tricks to get rich. It is about building a new mindset and new habits that, over time, will lead to financial success. Friends, if you apply even a few of these lessons in your life, your future will look very different. Thank you for listening. If you like this summary of Rich Dad Poor Dad, please like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe for more such life-changing book summaries. Chapter 2: Why Teach Financial Literacy? This chapter answers one very important question. Why do so many people, even after earning good money, still end up broke? And how can we avoid that mistake? Let's begin step by step. Introduction. More money doesn't mean more wealth. Most people think that the answer to financial problems is to earn more. They believe a higher salary or a better job will solve everything. But this chapter makes it very clear. It's not about how much money you make, it's about how much money you keep. History gives us many examples. Famous business leaders and wealthy people of the past ended their lives broke or in debt. Why? Because they did not know how to manage their money. They lacked financial literacy. Even today, We see the same story with lottery winners, movie stars, and athletes. They earn millions at a young age, but without financial skills, they quickly lose everything. So the first lesson is, money without financial education is money soon gone. Why financial literacy is the foundation. Imagine building a house. If you want to build a small hut, you only need a thin concrete slab. But if you want to build a skyscraper, you must dig deep and create a strong foundation. In the same way, if you want long-term wealth, you must build a strong foundation of financial knowledge. Without it, your financial house will collapse. Schools teach reading, writing, and arithmetic, but they don't teach us how money works. As a result, people leave school, get jobs, earn salaries, buy homes and cars, but they don't know how to manage cash flow. This lack of financial literacy keeps many families trapped in debt and sleepless nights. The golden rule: know the difference between assets and liabilities. Rich Dad taught one rule again and again. The rich buy assets. The poor and middle class buy liabilities they think are assets. Sounds simple, right? But it's very powerful. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket. Example: rental properties, stocks, businesses, or royalties. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. Example: loans, cars, expensive houses, or credit card debt. The reason many people struggle is that they don't know this difference. They think their home is their biggest asset, but in reality, it often takes money away through mortgage payments, taxes, and maintenance. If you spend your life buying liabilities, you will always be in financial struggle. But if you spend your life buying assets, you will grow richer with time. The cash flow patterns. To make this idea clear, Rich Dad explained with simple diagrams. Let me simplify them for you in words. Per people's cash flow, they earn money from a job, and it quickly flows out through expenses like rent, food, and bills. Nothing is left. Middle class cash flow, they earn money from a job, then buy liabilities like a house, car loans, and credit card debt. Money keeps flowing out. Rich people's cash flow, they use money to buy assets like businesses, stocks, and real estate. These assets generate income that pays for their expenses. Over time, their assets grow bigger, and so does their income. That's why the rich get richer, the poor stay poor, and the middle class struggles. The rat race. Here's the sad truth of the middle class dream. A young couple starts working. They earn good salaries and decide to buy a nice house, car, and furniture. As income increases, expenses also increase. Taxes take a big chunk. Loans pile up. They believe they are doing well because they own a home, but in reality, they are stuck in the rat race, working harder just to pay bills, with no real wealth building. This happens because of financial illiteracy. They mistake liabilities for assets. Why more money doesn't solve money problems? Many people think, if I just earn more, I'll be fine. But more money often makes problems worse. If you don't change your cash flow pattern, a bigger salary will only lead to bigger expenses, bigger houses, bigger cars, and bigger debt. That's why people win lotteries or get big raises and still end up broke. The problem is not the money. The problem is the lack of financial education. The power of self-knowledge. Rich Dad often spoke about the importance of looking in the mirror. He said that in life, we must ask ourselves, does this decision make sense? Am I really buying an asset, or am I just following the crowd? Too often, people buy homes, cars, or take loans because everyone else does. Fear of being different stops them from questioning. But true wisdom comes from self-knowledge, not blind following. Why schools don't teach money? Mike and Robert, as teenagers, noticed that schools never taught them about money. Teachers told them, if you get good grades, you'll do well in life. But they could see that many educated people were still struggling financially. Schools are designed to produce good employees, not employers. That's why real financial education must be learned outside of the classroom, through experience, books, mentors, and practice. The home debate: asset or liability? Poor Dad believed his house was his biggest investment. Rich Dad disagreed. Why? Because a house often costs more than it gives back. It requires mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, repairs, and other expenses. These take money out of your pocket. Yes, owning a home can be good, but don't mistake it for an income-producing asset. Rich Dad's advice was clear. First, buy assets that generate cash flow, then use that cash flow to buy luxuries like a house. Why the rich get richer and the middle class struggles. The rich reinvest their income from assets back into buying more assets. Their wealth keeps multiplying. The middle class keeps increasing their expenses as their salary increases. They think they are moving ahead, but they are actually trapped. The poor struggle just to meet expenses, with nothing left to invest. This is why financial literacy is the key difference. Real wealth defined. Most people think wealth means net worth, the value of assets minus liabilities. But Rich Dad used another definition, inspired by Buckminster Fuller. Wealth is how long you can survive if you stop working today. In other words, if your assets generate enough cash flow to cover your expenses, you are wealthy, even if you're not rich by traditional standards. For example, if your assets generate $2,000 a month and your expenses are $2,000 a month, you are financially free. You no longer depend on your job. That's real wealth. The path to financial independence. So how do we start? The answer is simple. 1. Focus on buying assets, not liabilities. 2. Keep expenses low and reinvest income from assets. 3. Educate yourself financially. Learn about accounting, investing, and cash flow. 4. Break free from the rat race by creating income streams that don't depend on your job. Over time, your assets will grow, and your wealth will multiply. Chapter 2 of Rich Dad, Poor Dad gives us a life-changing truth. Financial literacy is the foundation of wealth. It's not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep, how well you manage it, and how wisely you invest it. The rich buy assets. The poor only have expenses. The middle class buy liabilities they think are assets. If you understand this simple rule and apply it, your financial life will change forever. So let us start today by questioning our financial choices. Are we building assets, or are we just collecting liabilities? Remember, real wealth is freedom, the freedom to live without depending only on your salary. Chapter 3. Mind your own business. This chapter explains one of the biggest secrets of the rich. The rich focus on building their assets, while everyone else focuses on their income. Let's understand what this means. The Ray Kroc lesson. In 1974, Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, was invited to speak to MBA students at the University of Texas. After the talk, some students asked him to join them for drinks. While they were chatting, Ray asked them a simple question. "What business am I in?" The students laughed. One of them replied, "Of course, you're in the hamburger business." Ray smiled and said, "No, I'm not in the hamburger business. I'm in the real estate business." You see, Ray Kroc knew that while he sold hamburgers, his real wealth came from owning valuable land under his franchises. Today, McDonald's is one of the largest real estate owners in the world. The message is clear: successful people don't just work for income. They focus on building assets. Work for yourself too. In the previous chapter, we learned that most people spend their lives working for others. First, they work for the company that pays their salary. Then, they work for the government through taxes. Finally, they work for the bank that owns their mortgage. That's why Rich Dad always taught, mind your own business. This doesn't mean quitting your job. It means while you work for others, you should also build something for yourself, your asset column. Profession versus business. Many people confuse their profession with their business. For example, if you ask someone, "What's your business?" they may reply, "I'm a banker." But in truth, they don't own the bank. They just work there. Their profession may be banking, but they don't actually have their own business. Rich Dad explained that your real business is not your job. Your real business is your asset column, the investments and properties you build over time. Why people struggle. Most people keep chasing higher salaries, promotions, or second jobs. They think more income will solve their problems. But this keeps them focused on the income column, not the asset column. That is why financial struggle is so common. When people lose their jobs or face a crisis, the things they thought were assets, like cars or expensive homes, turn into heavy expenses. Net worth confusion. Banks often ask for net worth on loan applications. People count their cars, clothes, jewelry, and even golf clubs as assets. But these things lose value the moment you buy them. They can't generate income. Rich Dad said, "Start minding your own business. Keep your job, but use your income to buy real assets." What are real assets? Rich Dad gave a simple list of true assets. Businesses that don't need you to be there every day. Stocks, bonds, income-generating real estate, notes, IOUs, royalties from things like books, music, or patents. Anything that creates income or grows in value and can easily be sold. On the other hand, cars, gadgets, clothes, or luxury items are not assets. They lose value and take money out of your pocket. Building assets you love. Rich Dad also said, buy assets that you love. If you enjoy real estate, invest in properties. If you love stocks, learn how to invest in them. If you enjoy creating, build intellectual property. When you love the asset, you take better care of it. For example, the author and his wife built a real estate portfolio because they enjoyed it. Later, the income from those assets paid for luxuries like a car, without touching their salaries. This is a very important point. The rich buy luxuries last, using the income from assets. The poor and middle class buy luxuries first, using loans and credit cards. $1 is an employee. Rich Dad explained money in a very unique way. He said, once $1 goes into your asset column, never let it come out. That dollar becomes your employee. The best thing about money is that it works 24 hours a day for generations if you protect and grow it. That is why it's so important to build and keep your asset column strong. The reality of starting a business. Rich Dad did not say that everyone must start a company. Running a business is difficult, and most new businesses fail. If you don't have the passion for it, don't force yourself. Instead, keep your job, but focus on investing and building assets on the side. This way, you stay safe with a salary while also growing your financial independence. Conclusion: mind your own business. So friends, what is the big lesson from Chapter 3? Don't confuse your job with your business. Your real business is your asset column. Keep your expenses low and reduce liabilities. Use your income to buy true assets like businesses, stocks, real estate, or royalties. Buy luxuries only after your assets pay for them. Remember, each dollar you invest in assets becomes an employee that works for you forever. This is what it means to mind your own business. The rich focus on building their assets, while everyone else focuses only on income. That's why the rich grow richer over time. Chapter 4. The history of taxes and the power of corporations. This chapter explains how taxes started, why the middle class suffers the most, and how the rich use corporations to legally protect and grow their wealth. Let's break it down in simple steps. The Robin Hood myth. Many of us have heard the story of Robin Hood, the hero who stole from the rich and gave to the poor. While schools present him as a hero, Rich Dad saw him differently. He said Robin Hood was not a hero but a thief. Why? Because the idea of taking from the rich to give to the poor is what led to higher taxes on the middle class. People thought taxes would only punish the rich. But in reality, the poor and middle class ended up paying the most. Even today, when people say, "The rich should pay more taxes," it usually backfires. The rich know how to avoid taxes legally, and the burden falls on employees and the middle class. How taxes began. Rich Dad explained the history of taxes. In the beginning, there were no regular income taxes in England or America. Taxes were only temporary, usually collected during wars. Britain introduced income tax in 1799 to fund the fight against Napoleon. America introduced income tax during the Civil War, 1861 to 1865. Later, in 1913, the 16th Amendment made income tax permanent in the United States. At first, these taxes targeted only the rich. That's how the idea was sold to the public. But once the government got a taste of steady tax income, they expanded it. Soon, the middle class was paying the majority of taxes. Government versus business. Rich Dad compared the way governments and businesses work. In government, the more money you spend and the more people you hire, the more powerful you look. Bigger organizations are respected. In business, it's the opposite. The fewer people you hire and the less money you spend, the more efficient and respected you are. This difference explains why governments always want more taxes, while businesses try to reduce expenses. How the rich outsmarted taxes. When taxes were introduced to target the rich didn't just accept it. They found ways around it. The most powerful tool they used was the corporation. A corporation is not a big building or a factory. Legally, it is just a file folder with documents, registered with the government. But this simple legal structure gives huge advantages. Corporations became popular during the days of sailing ships. Investors would pool money into a corporation to fund a voyage. If the ship sank, the investors lost only the money they put in, not their personal wealth. This protection made corporations extremely powerful. Over time, the rich learned to use corporations not just for business, but also for reducing taxes and protecting assets. Corporations versus individuals. Here's the main difference between how employees and corporations handle money. Employees earn, pay taxes, spend what's left. Corporations earn, spend, pay taxes on what's left. This means corporations can pay for many expenses, like cars, travel, or meals, with pre-tax money. Employees, on the other hand, must pay taxes first and then spend from what remains. This legal system gives the rich a major advantage. Why the middle class suffers. The poor and middle class usually work for money. They earn salaries, pay taxes directly from their paychecks, and then struggle with expenses. They don't know how to use corporations or tax laws to their advantage. The rich, on the other hand, hire smart accountants and lawyers. They use legal tax benefits like Section 1031 exchanges and real estate, which allow them to delay paying capital gains tax. Expense deductions, such as travel, vehicles, and business meetings. Trusts and corporate structures, which protect their wealth from lawsuits. This is why the middle class keeps losing in the tax game. They don't even know the rules. Knowledge is power. Rich Dad often reminded Robert and Mike, the biggest bully is not your boss, but the tax man. If you don't understand money and taxes, you will always be pushed around. But if you educate yourself, you can protect your wealth and even make the system work for you. That's why the rich don't fear taxes. They learn how to legally reduce them. They know the laws, and they use professionals to guide them. Owning the ladder. Poor Dad always advised Robert to climb the corporate ladder, get a job, work hard, and move up. Rich Dad gave a different perspective. He said, "Why climb the ladder when you can own the ladder?" This meant starting or owning corporations, building assets, and creating systems where money works for you. When Robert first heard this as a boy, it sounded impossible. But later, while working at Xerox, He saw how much of his paycheck was eaten by taxes. That motivated him to create his own corporation. Soon, the income from his real estate investments, protected by his company, was greater than his salary. That's how he escaped the rat race early. The 4 skills of financial intelligence. Rich Dad explained that financial intelligence, or financial IQ, is built on 4 main areas of knowledge. 1. Accounting, the ability to read numbers and understand financial statements. 2. Investing, the skill of making money grow by using money. 3. Understanding markets, knowing how supply and demand work, and recognizing trends. 4. The law, especially tax laws and the protection offered by corporations. A person who understands all 4 areas has a huge advantage. It's like the difference between walking and flying. Benefits of corporations. Corporations offer 2 major benefits. 1. Tax advantages. Corporations can spend before paying taxes. Vacations, cars, and even meals can often be written off as business expenses. Employees can't do this. 2. Protection from lawsuits. Wealthy people often hide assets inside corporations and trusts. This makes it difficult for others to take their wealth, even if they are sued. The poor and middle class usually own everything in their own name. That makes them more vulnerable to losing their assets. Chapter 4 teaches us a powerful lesson. It's not just about working hard. It's about working smart. Taxes were created with the promise of punishing the rich, but in reality, the middle class pays the most. The rich use corporations to legally protect themselves and reduce taxes. Financial intelligence means knowing accounting, investing, markets, and law. Employees work for money, but the rich make money work for them. The choice is ours. We can keep working harder for a paycheck, or we can learn the rules of money and start building assets that protect and grow our wealth. As Rich Dad said, if you work for money, you give the power to your employer. If money works for you, you keep the power and control it. Chapter 5. The rich invent money. This chapter is very powerful because it explains why the rich see opportunities everywhere while others only see problems. It teaches us that money is not only about hard work. Money is created in the mind first, and then it becomes reality. Let's explore the lesson step by step in simple English. Smart or bold? Who wins? In school, we are taught that good grades and intelligence are the keys to success. But in real life, success often comes to those who are bold, daring, and willing to take risks. Rich Dad said, "It's not always the smartest who get ahead, but the bold." Most people have the knowledge but lack the courage to act. They wait for the perfect chance, the perfect amount of money, or the perfect situation. But those moments never come. Rich people step forward even when things are uncertain. They invent opportunities instead of waiting for them. Fear and self-doubt. Every person has great potential. But the biggest obstacle is fear and self-doubt. Many people know what to do, but they don't take action because they are afraid of losing money or making mistakes. In reality, mistakes are the best teachers. Just like we learn to walk by falling many times, financial growth also requires failure and learning. Winners are not afraid of losing, losers are. That's why so many people never even try. The changing world of wealth. Rich Dad explained that wealth has changed forms over time. Hundreds of years ago, wealth was in land. Whoever owned land was rich. Later, wealth came from factories and production. Industrialists like Rockefeller became powerful. Today, wealth lies in information. Whoever has the right knowledge at the right time becomes wealthy. This is why financial education is more important than ever. Opportunities appear every day, but only those with trained minds can see them. Old ideas are liabilities. One reason people struggle financially is because they hold on to old ideas. They keep working hard, saving money, and hoping for job security. But the world has changed. Technology, globalization, and new systems are reshaping wealth. If we don't adapt, we fall behind. Rich Dad taught that clinging to old ideas is the biggest liability. What worked yesterday may not work today. The cash flow game example. To teach financial lessons, Robert Kiyosaki created a board game called Cash Flow. The game shows how income, expenses, assets, and liabilities work together. Some people love the game, while others get frustrated. One woman once walked out of the class angry because she didn't want to face her lack of financial knowledge. Later, she realized the game reflected her real life. Lots of spending, but no assets. The lesson here is that life is like a game. It constantly gives us feedback. If we pay attention, we can learn and improve. If we ignore it, we stay stuck. Financial intelligence means options. Rich Dad explained that financial intelligence is simply having more options. If you don't have money, can you still find a way to make a deal? If an investment goes wrong, can you turn it into another opportunity? If everyone else sees a problem, can you see a solution? This is what separates the rich from the poor. Poor people see only one option: work harder. Rich people create new options by using their minds. Money is not real. Rich Dad often said, "Money is not real." What he meant is that money is just an agreement. It has value only because people believe in it. That's why the most powerful asset we have is our mind. With the right financial education, our mind can create wealth out of nothing, through ideas, deals, and agreements. For example, traders in stock markets can make millions in seconds without any actual money exchanging hands, just agreements between buyers and sellers. Example: creating money from nothing. Robert shared a story from the 1990s when the real estate market in Phoenix was depressed. Many houses worth $100,000 were being sold for $20,000 to $30,000. He borrowed $2,000 from a friend to secure one deal, then quickly found buyers who were ready to pay $60,000. In just a few hours of work, he created $40,000 in assets without using his own money. This is a perfect example of inventing money. Instead of saving for years to buy a house, he used knowledge, creativity, and courage to create wealth quickly. 4 skills of financial intelligence. Rich Dad explained that true financial intelligence comes from mastering 4 key skills. 1. Accounting, understanding numbers and financial statements. 2. Investing, knowing how to make money grow. 3. Markets, understanding supply, demand, and timing. 4. The law, knowing tax rules, corporate structures, and legal protections. When you combine these 4 areas, you gain the ability to spot opportunities, reduce risks, and create wealth where others see nothing. Great opportunities are seen with the mind. Most people never get wealthy because they are not trained to recognize opportunities. Opportunities are not always visible with the eyes. They are recognized with the mind. Someone may look at a rundown property and see only problems. A trained investor may see hidden value and profit. That's the difference financial intelligence makes. 2 types of investors. Rich Dad described 2 kinds of investors. 1. Type 1, packaged investors. These are people who buy ready-made investments like mutual funds, bonds, or properties through brokers. It's simple but usually offers smaller returns. 2. Type 2, creative investors. These are people who create investments. They put deals together, raise money, and use opportunities that others miss. This requires more skill but also offers bigger rewards. Rich Dad encouraged Robert to be the second type of investor, because that's where real wealth is built. 3 skills of a creative investor. To become the second type of investor, you need 3 abilities. 1. Spot opportunities others miss. Use your mind to see hidden value. 2. Raise money creatively. Don't depend only on banks. Learn to find investors, partners, or creative financing. 3. Organize smart people. Work with advisors, accountants, and professionals who are smarter than you in their fields. These skills allow you to turn ordinary situations into extraordinary wealth. Why most people don't try. Even though opportunities exist everywhere, most people never take them because they are afraid of losing. In school, we are taught that mistakes are bad. But in reality, failure is part of success. Rich people understand this. They are not afraid of failing because every failure teaches them something new. Poor and middle-class people avoid risks and, as a result, also avoid success. Small seeds become big trees. Rich Dad compared investing to planting seeds. Small investments, like $5,000 or $10,000, can grow into millions over time if they are planted wisely. The secret is to start small, keep learning, and let your knowledge multiply opportunities. So friends, what is the big lesson of Chapter 5? Success comes more from boldness than from grades. Fear and self-doubt kill opportunities. The rich adapt to change, while others cling to the past. Financial intelligence means having more options. Money is not real. The mind creates wealth. There are two types of investors: package buyers and creative deal makers. The rich focus on planting small seeds that grow into large wealth over time. The rich invent money not by working harder, but by training their minds to see opportunities, take bold action, and turn ideas into wealth. We've now completed the first 5 chapters of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Each chapter gave us powerful lessons about money and life. Let's quickly recap. Chapter 1 taught us that the rich don't just work for money, they make money work for them. Chapter 2 showed us the importance of financial literacy, and why we must know the difference between assets and liabilities. Chapter 3 reminded us to mind our own business, build our own asset column instead of working only for others. Chapter 4 explained the history of taxes and how the rich use corporations to protect themselves and reduce taxes legally. Chapter 5 revealed that the rich invent money. With financial intelligence, courage, and creativity, we can turn opportunities into wealth. These chapters prove one big idea: financial freedom starts with financial education. It's not about working harder, it's about thinking smarter. If you enjoyed this journey through the first 5 chapters, please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. In the next videos, we'll continue exploring the remaining chapters of this amazing book so that we can all grow in knowledge, wealth, and freedom. Thank you for listening, and remember, don't just work for money. Make money work for you.